the, check the date, April 15th, 2024 meeting of the Jackson County Library District Board is called to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
We have President Vicki Brown,
Here.
Kim Young.
Are you muted?
I'm here.
Susan Kiefer. Here. Marissa Shepherd.
Here.
And Kevin Keating.
Here. Okay, thank you. Okay. So next, if you can please join me in thought, I will read the JCLS land acknowledgement. Jackson County Library Services acknowledges that its libraries are located within the traditional lands of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians and the Modoc Nation, as well as the Shasta, Takelma, and Lefgawa people, whose descendants are now identified as members of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians and the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. We take this moment to recognize the indigenous peoples whose traditional lands are where residents of Jackson County live today. JCLS is committed to fostering understanding, deep respect, and honor for indigenous people, and we encourage you to learn more about the land you reside on. For more information, go to jcls.org/land. Thank you. And want to welcome people who have joined us virtually, staff who are in the room with us. And I just have one quick little announcement thing that I'm going to do before we move on to the next part. April is National Volunteer Month, and I wanted to thank and recognize the volunteer elected board members who serve on the Library District Board, the Library Foundation Board, the Friends of the Library, and all of the JCLS volunteers who contribute an immeasurable amount of value to JCLS, and appreciate all of those volunteer contributions. So on to, so I know we don't have any proclamations, and I think we don't have any introductions. So next, does anybody have a request, when any board members have a request to add something to the agenda or move something on the agenda to a different location from the consent agenda?
Not today.
We don't need that.
Oh, right, yep.
Marissa has her hand up.
Okay,
Yeah, I just was hoping we could move item 4 on the consent agenda to at least talk about it.
Move it off.
okay, so
So the resolution of credit limit.
does it go under new business?
Yep.
Okay, so we will move item number 4 from the consent agenda to new business. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so I would like and
Move to that.
Brandon, yes, a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you.
We do need a separate roll call vote for each resolution. According to our agenda.
Yeah, okay. So we do need a roll call vote for items 2 and 3 on the consent agenda. So item number, and we can do those together.
No.
No, we can do separately. Okay,
Should we
thank
move
you.
them all down to new
That's all we have to
business so that we do it all the resolutions together? I mean, I don't care, but
It doesn't matter. Spread out the joy. It'll be fun.
Okay.
all right.
Okay, so resolution 2024-03. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
So, resolution 2403. Vicky Brown,
Yes.
Kim Young.
Yeah.
Susan Kiefer. Right. Marissa Shepherd
Yes.
and Kevin Keating.
Yes.
And resolution 2404. Vicky Brown,
Yes.
Kim Young.
Yes.
Susan Kiefer.
Yes.
Marissa Shepherd
Yes.
and Kevin Keating.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so we note at this time that there will not be an executive session as part of the meeting today. Okay. So I don't think we have any
Guests in the room.
guests in the room.
No guests in the room, but there are some virtually, nobody's signed up this sheet anyway.
Okay. So are there any individuals who have joined us by Zoom who wish to speak to the board?
If so, just raise your hand.
Yes,
If there are.
you can just raise your virtual hand and we will be happy to recognize you. Okay. Looks like not. So next, library director's report.
Okay, well, I would like to start by inviting two individuals to come up to the empty table up here. So we have Evelyn Lawrence, who is our community literacy librarian.
Yeah, youth literacy librarian. I'm
Literally, yeah, thank you. And Kayla Samrath, who is here, our adult services department at the Medford branch, to talk about the outreach that they, the juvenile detention center.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. You have a power of Thanks, Val. So we visit the Barriers to Bridges program down the street at the Jackson County Juvenile Detention Center. And this special program is housed within the center. They serve up to 10 youth at a time, ages 10 to 20 years old, and focuses on providing rehabilitation services to youth that have behavioral problems, which cannot adequately be assessed or dealt with while they are at home. We visit the classroom that's on site, but in addition to the classroom facility that we visit, the B2B consists of bedrooms, the general living area, and eating area, bathrooms, showers, those types of things, kind of has a dorm type atmosphere. And youth placed in the residential program attend a full day year-round education program put out by the Medford School District, and they participate in daily structured activities, plus they have opportunities to participate in their community, and they get home passes with varied behavior. Kayla and I visit the classroom twice a month during the regular school day.
So I just kind of want to highlight this slide right here. We started this partnership in 2022. So about 2 years, we have been visiting the facility. And in those 2 years, we have signed kids up for 43 individual library cards. We have done 48 class visits physically there at their facility. There have been 83 book requests done in that 2-year time period. And we've also done 1 class read units. And so kids are really involved in a way that I think a lot of them are not used to. One of the things I really just want to point out here is that we have a maximum of 10 students at one time, never more than 10 students. So we've had less than that, sometimes 7 students, sometimes 9 students. So in the span of 2 years, we've checked out 83 books to the students. So that's roughly 40 books per year. which means that these kids are reading an additional 4 books per year, which is huge because these kids are self-described non-readers, kids who describe themselves as hating reading, haven't found books that they like to read. So I really just wanted to highlight that 83 books requested in the span of 2 years for a maximum of 10 students. Just let that sink in, you know, these are kids who typically don't see themselves in literature, and here they are requesting books. These are additional books. They're not required reading for them. And so it's really renewed their interest in reading, and it's aided in their reading comprehension. And it's just kind of re-sparked, I think, their joy for reading, which is something that many of these kids haven't felt in a while. So that is just really important, that 43 cards, 48 visits, 83 book requests, and 11 one-class read units.
Thanks. That's a good question. I don't know if you prefer if we interrupt you or wait until you're finished. I can wait if you'd prefer.
Could you hold it? That would be
Absolutely.
great. Thank you so much.
So as I mentioned, we do one class read unit. So what is this? Well, we all read a book together as a class. And it is really exciting because by doing this, they get to earn participation points. So they earn English language arts credits when they participate in the lessons that we put on for them. So it is really exciting to let them kind of have their say in what they're reading and what they're doing. We typically let the class vote on what books they want to read and also what format they prefer to read in. One of the things that we like to do are book trailers. So we'll put together some YouTube videos that are book trailers that Evelyn and I usually go through together, and we pick certain titles that we have lessons and things that we can base lessons on their Oregon Common Core standards. So we really like to give them options and they vote, and it's always exciting because we kind of make those movie days where they get popcorn and snacks and all of that. So they really, really enjoy doing that together. So they do audiobooks. Sometimes we like to do popcorn around the room and give the students opportunities to read. Sometimes they're also more than happy to listen to Evelyn and I read as well, and we are a-okay with that. And also, a lot of these kids are self-described as non-readers, and they're reading and they're actively participating. Even the teacher has changed her perspective on this a little bit. There are a lot of stringent rules on what she would allow books to be requested for the students. But when she saw their renewed passion and their renewed interest, I think she realized how important it is. Because we always stress that books need to be windows, mirrors, and doors. And the key is picking books here that kids can relate to, see themselves in, or learn from. And now that's had a bigger impact on the teacher. And by opening up those rules a little bit, she's gone way more active participating from the kids who are doing their own reading. It's not just the class reads. So I think that that is really exciting for the kids. It's really exciting for the teacher. And it's really something that can spark that renewed interest in both staff and the students. So. And here is just a list of some of the one class read selections that we've done. I just really wanted to point out the programming opportunities that this brings forth to the facility. So we always try to have them participate in our thematic programming. So we've done Road Reads and our summer reading programs. They participate. They usually read one of the books that are picked as the title, and then they attend the virtual author talks. They also typically will do some of the crafting programs that we have geared around that theme. And there's also opportunities for bigger partnerships. We did a joint lesson with an organization called Bridge to Jerusalem, and the kids watched a 2-part documentary, and they had the opportunity to write letters to Holocaust survivors in Israel. And the kids actually received responses as well. And so the lessons had a very deep impact on the kids that year. I mean, it was very meaningful to them to be able to participate in something like that. And we also partnered up with them to put on a couple different activities here in the library. So it got the kids in the facility back here into the library to participate with other patrons in the community in their age group. So it was a great opportunity for them. That is a lesson I think has set with those kids since they got it. And also, like I said, they get to participate in system-wide programming like the summer reading and the themes that we have for fall and spring. Evelyn and I really like to bring in the reading programs into the classroom and make it exciting for them. They typically get to win their own types of prizes, and we try to make the prizes on par with what the teen departments are doing at JCLS. So it is a really fun opportunity to get them involved in our different themes that we have every year. This is just something I want to show you all. This is what a slip that we use for active participation. This is a survey tool that we've used to gauge interest in movies. So when we do our book trailers, they'll have a sheet of these and they can write down the titles and write what they felt, if they liked it, they didn't like it. And the best thing about these is when we get them, it helps us with also their individual readers advisory. We can see the things that they really liked, the things that they really didn't like. And they also have an opportunity to request one of the titles that didn't get picked, but they still liked. And so this is just kind of a tool that we use to gauge in readers advisory and also try to engage them in really participating actively in their own lesson planning. So that's kind of just an example of some of the things that we use.
Okay, so over time, we've really worked hard to build a true co-teaching relationship with the teacher. We've built a lot of trust with the classroom. What the One Class Reads programs often look like are us coming in and introducing the book to the kids that they've chosen. We'll do like the introductory activity, we'll start the book together, and then we'll really pass over a large amount of extension activities for teacher facilitation. So as we visit throughout the month, we'll still check in on that reading, we'll do some more collaborative activities, but we're handing over kind of an enrichment packet for the educators. Typical extensions are all based around the Oregon State standards, and students are able to earn ELA English language arts credit for all of that. So things that we like to include are things like graphic organizers, where they can keep track of the main characters, which can really help with their reading comprehension, vocabulary lists, discussion questions, art prompts, and if there's any opportunity for cross-curricular tie-ins like geography and history, we try to include some type of lesson extension that goes with that. So our students have historically, repeatedly been very artistic minded. Here are some of the art extensions that they did with the book Coraline, and those art prompts can often include finding a quote and drawing an image that goes along with it, or doing a character trait photo, or drawing a scene from the book, or even reimagining the book cover. And you can go ahead to the next slide too. But these are Coraline, and then we've also got Return to Sender, which was our Rogue Reads featured by author Julia Alvarez. And this one was actually a really wonderful opportunity for Windows, Mirrors, and Doors. We talk about that. One of the students really connected to the experience in the story. And without prompting, he elected to share a lot of his family experience and cultural background with the group. And we were able to really like kind of open him up and engage him with the text because of that reason. And it's also really rewarding for Kayla and I to walk into the classroom too. This is how they've decorated their classroom is small. It's about the size of the room we're in right now. So these artworks hanging up around the room is just kind of another tie-in to continue the activities that we're doing with them.
One of the things we really, really love to do is Kahoot. I am not sure if any of you are familiar with Kahoot. It is a online user-generated multiple choice quiz type website. So you create your own kind of quiz. You can do true, false, fill in the blank, multiple choice, multi-select answer. And all the kids need to do is log in on their computer and they can participate in the Kahoot. Kahoots are always really fun and are always a big to-do when we are coming in to do them. And we usually do them about the books that we read together as a class, but we don't always end up doing them on the books that we read. I like to mention that the kids really participate in what they're learning and what their lessons are. And this is one of the ways that it's also really self-directed. Sometimes we end up doing Kahoots about other things. We had kids who were unfamiliar with what nouns, verbs, and adjectives were. So we ended up doing a whole lesson about it. We did a Kahoot, which reinforced it. And then afterwards, we had fun doing Mad Libs, and they got it and it clicked. We've also done really fun Kahoots about the JCLS website, how to search the catalog, database searching. We've also done like our Kahoots on Hoopla, things like that to really introduce them to everything that the library has, because it is more than just books. It is an amazing service that we have for the community. And so Kahoot is a really fun way to really get them excited. We also give them the opportunity to team up with somebody. And so with a team of two, there's less pressure on like this exam model. And it is also less pressure on them having to immediate recall. They can at least brainstorm together. And so I've seen them really improve their scores together when they team up, and it is always a really fun time. So Kahoot days are always a big to-do because they are very competitive. And of course, Evelyn and I always like to bring prizes for the people who land on the podium. And so once they saw one time it was a whole candy bar, they were like, I need to win next time. So Kahoots are always a really fun way to get a good test in, make sure that they are listening or absorbing things, but it's still very fun and very interactive.
So to kind of move on from the one class reads model, we really try to cultivate some classroom experiences that don't conform well to a traditional classroom. So even though we're in there, we're looking for different ways to engage these students in their learning styles and where they're at. So we have a couple of different activities that we've done repeatedly that we wanted to share with you. One of those things is book tastings. You can kind of see how it's set up on the slide there. But these are fun lessons in which students get to sample or taste a whole variety of different books. Each timed round, students will taste a stack of books as set in front of them. They'll check out the covers, the book blurbs, the first few pages, and get used to kind of the writing style. Then they have a sheet as well. They record their thoughts as well as how interested they might be in reading that book. And this activity is fun and fast-paced. It increases their exposure to books and genres and hopefully piques their interest in reading, especially with these students and any student really who is still developing their reading identities. They don't consider themselves readers. They don't know what it is that they like. If we can find that spark for them, that is really, really helpful. You can see kind of in the background of this picture, their classroom library collection, which we noticed wasn't getting used very well, but they do have access to this library. So Kayla and I were able to kind of analyze the availability of their classroom materials and pull those things out and then create a special activity that went with books that they already have in their classroom. You can also see on the board, so we've got little printed out menus that have books sorted by genre. And then we brought sparkling grape juice and goldfish crackers. And, you know, we made like a whole restaurant vibe with it. One of the kids went into his dorm room and went and got his suit jacket. He said, hold on, I'll be right back. A very cool opportunity to see them do that. So this whole activity is designed to create hopefully positive associations with reading, whether or not they consider themselves readers. And whether or not they do end up checking out one of those books, it gets them more familiar with all of those things. And classroom book circulation has also gone up, so that's really nice to hear. Okay, we also get to do things like theme introductions. Over 2 years in a row in the spring, we have been able to introduce the students into their poetry unit. One of our favorite ways to do that is with blackout poetry. This is, if you don't know about blackout poetry, you're kind of creating your own original content by destroying previously written material. And since we have access to the library and the collections team with all of these withdrawn books that we have, we're able to bring in actual library books that the students can tear a page out of, take a Sharpie and kind of remix the words that are on the page and create their own poem. So this is a picture of them all posted on the board. They are able to share them out if they choose to do that. And I'm going to give you a second to read a couple of the last ones that were created.
It's always really funny too, because the kids are hesitant, like, wait, we tear out a page of this book, wait, we draw in this book, and we're like, yeah.
That's Sharpie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that second one. Jack took a bite of his mom. But you can see it can be really, really simple. Some kids get creative with the art on the page itself, but at the end of this lesson, asking them who just wrote their first poem and them all raising their hand and having a better understanding of poetry is just, it's really fun and they're engaged with it. So that's one of the fun activities we get to do. So virtual escape rooms is something, we have access to a whole collection of these through a behind the scenes resource called Teaching Books. And this is just a whole digital kit of an escape room. We project the escape on the board so that everyone can participate as a whole. But we work ahead of time to print out all of the puzzles so that they can individually be able to work through the puzzles and give themselves some time to think through it and see if they can solve it. We have done a Jumanji puzzle, and we also did a Percy Jackson themed puzzle. They were both really, really popular. And this is a really great way to encourage teamwork and collaboration, because as they're working together to solve the puzzles and the challenges, they're working on their crucial social skills, they're working on their communication, they are kind of teaching each other, which is really fun to see. And ultimately, there's a sense of accomplishment with the group when they achieve their goal as a team.
One of the things that we also do are our library tours. So we get to have the kids come in to our library and get to walk them around everywhere in the building, which has been incredibly, I guess, impactful on them. So they get introduced to JCLS and our services and what we have to offer. Some of the major highlights for them is usually that introduction to the social services team and the community resource board. A lot of those folks who happen to be in the program might need access to healthcare, housing, food, clothing. And so they're always very shocked to find out that we have access to information like that. So that has been very meaningful to them. They also really enjoy being shown different collections. So some of the collections that I have been very surprised that these kids were extremely drawn to was our local history collection. So we have annuals there, and they go back quite a bit for our local high schools. And so the kids really get a kick out of trying to find their parents in the yearbooks, trying to find their teachers in the yearbooks, trying to find the paraprofessionals who are in the classroom in the yearbooks. Just today, they spent, we did a tour earlier, and they spent about 7 minutes trying to find everybody in the yearbooks. And it was very fun. Something very surprising was their interest in the microfilm machine. When I pulled out a reel of film to show them what it looked like, their minds were blown. It was like they had never even seen this format before. And so when I loaded it into the machine and showed them, they were just so fascinated. And we picked a newspaper from the 1940s, and we were looking at the ads, and they were like, a pair of pants for $2? It was the funniest thing. So it's really interesting to see some of the collections that the kids are drawn to, especially collections that I didn't think might be a big hit, but they were really, really interested into it. We usually end the tours in the teen department, and we usually get to have the teen librarian introduce them to that space, that collection, the programs and services. And so they really get to know what that space for them is about and how it houses pretty much their own collection and their own creativity outlets and games, all of that. So ending in the teen department is very fun and pretty meaningful to them. We like to end it with some kind of lesson. So I've done lessons on our Library of Things collection. I've done lessons on Hoopla, like I said earlier. I've also done lessons on how to search the catalog but get primary sources, little things like that. I've done lessons on how to evaluate resources. And so they get a very nice little lesson at the end of something fun, and then they usually get some time to browse and check things out. It has been really awesome to see them gain confidence in the collection, being able to traverse for fiction and know where something is, to be able to understand what Dewey Decimal is and nonfiction is also really great to see that grow on the kids. And so we usually try to have it very interactive and something that will be impactful to them and hopefully keep them coming back, especially when they are no longer in said facility. We really hope that they come back and they see us and that they are regular library users.
So these are a little tricky to read, but these are some thank you notes that we've gotten throughout our time with these kids at B2B. But one thing that has been really, really important and really evident is that consistency is so, so important to them. So the fact that we show up, twice a month, regardless, if they've had a bad day or if we've had a rough day, it's really, really important to them to see that, that we're there, we're gonna work through it together. We try to give them space to decompress and participate to the best of their ability, to the best of their capacity in the moment. Usually their English language arts time is right after their group session, and a lot of like very heavy things obviously can be involved in their day. And so we acknowledge, we validate their feelings and understand that there's times that we need to stop for breathing and for centering and just like let them participate to the best of their ability as they go. This time, we were able, I also don't expect you to read that, but the current class heard that we were coming and talking to you guys and wanted to give some student feedback. So their teacher asked them if there was anything that they'd like to share. And some of these were just very sweet. I look forward to when they come in every time. I didn't really read and now I do. They make us happy when they show up.
My favorite is, we don't have to do actual schoolwork. That's my favorite because we had them doing Korean poetry and counting syllables, but it's not actual schoolwork. It's fun. It's my favorite, yeah.
So we also got a quote from the teacher, Julie Molyneux, who was fantastic, and she wanted to share, we know we can count on them to be here, to bring our book requests, to answer questions, to educate us, and just to have fun with us. We still look forward to every visit. So it's been really nice and to support them in any way that we can. It's what we're trying to do and what it seems to be is working as we've opened up so many avenues for them to participate in the classroom in ways that they might not be able to in a more traditional classroom, participating in author talks, these extra special kind of extension activities that are really cool and very rewarding to be able to offer them. It's been really nice to kind of coincide with their learning styles.
Yeah, and usually after every session, Evelyn and I try to have a debrief meeting. And I can't recall ever a single meeting where we went, oh my gosh, that was terrible, or that did not go well. Oh my goodness. I feel like it's always been wow, that went really well, or wow, that was a lot of fun. Or did you see so-and-so really participating? That was exciting. So I feel like, Evelyn and I are both very passionate about this, and I think that means a lot to the kids. If they see it and they see how excited we are, then that gets them excited again too.
So I know our passion made us go over time, but and there's time to answer them if you have to.
Yield if anybody else of other board members have questions or.
They're all boys, yes.
Is their participation volunteer?
Sorry, go.
No, it's a little tricky, because their teacher would tell you they have to participate. But I think for me, I never want to force them to do something that they will not have a good time doing, or that they will associate some negativity towards it. There's an example. We had a kiddo who didn't really want to participate, and he told us so, and we said, well, hey, that's okay. If you don't want to participate, that's fine, but like, just don't be disruptive to everybody else. He ended up participating. He ended up even winning, and he ended up just having a really good time. And so I think giving them that opt-out just made them feel heard, made them feel like, hey, it does matter that I said no. So it made them want to actively participate instead of us forcing them to. So I try to give them an option, but their teacher might say otherwise.
Do we have any interaction with the jail?
We do not.
We've done a book donation to the jail library separate from the B2B program, but as far as like activities and things like that, no.
Kim or Marissa, do either of you have a question? Comment?
Sounds great.
Okay, and I have a quick question.
I know.
Yeah. Mine's more just the mechanics of how do you fulfill the book requests. I mean, you make a list of who the person is, and then you hunt up their library card and you get the book and take it back the next time.
So Usually what I do is I have a notebook that is all of the book requests historically that we've ever had. And there's two columns. One is the student name and then book title or book subject that they want. And then I just track them that way. We also usually keep all the library card applications that they have. So we have access to what their library card numbers are. So I like to check that out to them on their account, usually the day that we're visiting there. So I usually have them put down any books that they want, and then I will go and hunt them down, pull them, check them out to them, and then bring them to them.
And then if the child is released before you're back, they just get turned into the teacher and returned to you. Okay.
Yep. They also, when they come, some of them have weekend passes and they choose to come to the library. They'll also return the whole class's books. We've had them do that. Today they came and they returned the books that they had checked out as well. So they try to take advantage of that opportunity. We have books to return. Let's go to the library.
How many kids are in custody?
In that specific classroom, we have a maximum of 10 students. So
Right, so you don't interact with all the kids that are,
in that entire facility, no, we only act with the folks that are in the B2B program.
Yes,
What's your degree?
Barriers to Bridges. It's the rehabilitation program. And there's a whole slew of information about that program on jacksoncountyboard.gov if you would like to see more of that as well.
I read it, do they have to qualify and get into this?
I'm pretty sure that there are some qualifications and things that they have to do to get into the program. Unfortunately, though, I don't know the logistics of how they get into the program.
And our classroom, I mean, to speak on that point a little bit, is really fluid because they need to do certain things to stay in that program as well. So sometimes we lose students, we gain students all of the time.
Mhm. And sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. The oldest students we could have at once might be an 11-year-old and a 19-year-old in the same group. And so trying to find the middle ground of a one class reads can get a little bit tricky, but so far Evelyn and I have, knocked on wood, done pretty good on getting everybody to be happy with what they're reading.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Just a couple other highlights from the report. So, since we're talking with our outreach department, I want to also highlight that we had staff who were able to attend the Southern Bergen Educational Services District event with, high school students and, share be part of that experience. And then also that we are making our Overdrive collection available through the school libraries through, what Overdrive calls SORA, and I really don't know what that stands for, but we are getting that set up. So having more ways that we're engaging with our schools around the system. March was full steam ahead. We had lots of fun programs related to science, technology, engineering, art, and math, including our very own Marissa Shepherd, whose magic show made front page news. So Marissa, thank you so much. I've heard that's been a success everywhere it's gone and that there's still a couple programs left for people to experience that with you. So really appreciate you stepping in and doing that. So are there any questions or comments about the report?
Lots of great stuff.
I'll just say the seed libraries have also been awesome. So that's amazing that you launched that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Is Jenny with us?
Jenny's on vacation today,
Oh, okay,
so no, she's not with us.
okay. So,
I will say that the foundation has had a very successful library giving day this year. Their goal was to raise at least $5,000 to meet the matching funds that they had, and they have met that goal. So, I believe that they have, I'm not gonna go too high. I believe they have over 150 different individuals who have responded and a donation anywhere from $5 or $10 or $20 up to, think even a couple over 1,000 that we received. So a good range and a good response again, this second year that we've done the Library Giving Day in April. I guess that's really next month's news. Pretend like you didn't hear that. She'll tell you next month.
Well, then, we forgot.
And the Dolly Parton Imagination Library Breakfast did happen in March and you all did attend that. And Seamus tried to steal the show. But that was a great event and a really good participation. We had about 170 people in the community and our goal there was to meet a $50,000 matching grant from an anonymous donor. And I believe we just passed that goal. So some good success there with our fundraising efforts here in the last 2 months.
Great. Thank you. And we don't appear to have any unfinished business. On to new business. Would it be preferable to do the resolution as the first item and take care of that? Or-
Sure.
Okay. So, we had moved resolution 2024-05 and Marissa, I know you had a question on that, so now would be the opportunity to present that.
Yeah, my main concern, and I feel like we've talked about it before, but maybe you can remind me, because the other resolutions state very clearly like who can make those transactions. But for the credit card one, it doesn't, it just says that key staff positions are designated and authorized. So just wondering if you could provide more clarity on that.
Yes, our policy that relates to credit card usage delegates that authority to myself to define who can receive a credit card. Does that make sense? So it doesn't have to be approved by resolution.
How many are there?
Well, there's 11 right now. We're wanting to add a 12th.
I'm assuming that we pay that off every month, so we're.
Yes, yeah, so the reason behind raising the credit limit overall, Heather and I have done some analysis. We have not exceeded the $50,000 aggregate credit limit in any given month, but we have some staff who, they may only have $1,000 limit or a $5,000 limit, and at certain times of the year, buying all your summer reading prizes, ordering books in the final month before the end of the year. There's certain times when that individual limit isn't sufficient. And so if we can raise the credit limit without going over our aggregate credit limit of 50,000, that's what we're looking for, is just some flexibility. We don't generally, I think, Heather, if you remember the range, it was usually between 10 and 20,000 total in a month. So really this is more a internal management of being able to have credit limits for each individual without going over. It's not, we're not authorizing greater amounts of money to be spent, I guess, just more flexibility and less management from the finance team to keep everybody under those caps. Does that help, Marissa?
I guess I'm just still concerned that there could be a lot of spending going on with the credit cards that aren't really accounted for. And it doesn't even say like who those 12 people are that are authorized, because you were saying you want to change it from 11 to 12.
Correct.
I don't know if this helps at all, but I believe in order to get those in place, you have to submit like a roster of people in their proposed limits. Is that right, Carrie? And if so, how and where do you keep that?
Where do we keep that list of who has the cards and what their limits are? Like the magic, no. Yeah, no, we do, there is an online tracking tool within our credit card system where every authorized card holder is listed and their credit limit amounts. So that is managed in conjunction with our finance department. Sorry, I was trying to find the policy. It's in financial management policy 2.1. Credit card information, the library director is authorized to open credit cards in the name of the district following the guidelines that the bank lists on its policy. And the line of credit may not exceed the amount approved by the board resolution, which is why we have this resolution before you. And that only approved positions shall be listed on the credit card user agreement as authorized users. And we do have an internal document that is a credit card user statement that they sign off on that says, yes, I understand, I can only use this for authorized purchases, and we do keep those on file. The approved positions include the library administration, area managers, and department heads. Any additional users will be reviewed and approved by the library director. So that doesn't mean all of those people have a card, but those are the categories in which people can have a card. And then the credit cards may be used for transactions already approved by the district's budget and should only be used in instances where a check payment, purchase order, or invoice is not available as a method of payment. So that's covered in financial management policy, and doesn't need to be in a resolution.
I had a question about that policy. Is that where it says that you have a total amount that you can authorize of 50,000? Is that correct?
The separate part of the policy, yes.
I don't recall exactly where I read it, but I think you can approve up to $50,000 in expenditures without going forward. You guys recall that?
I think that's in purchasing policy.
Not the question on the table today, but
Well, no, I mean,
I can look it up. and
The
find
reason
it.
I'm asking this because these are all under your, approval.
Yeah.
Do we need to change that if we're going to say that conceivably in a month, we could spend $75,000? So is there a conflict with that policy? Is the question. Maybe to Jackie.
I think from what I'm getting from what you're saying, so Carrie has individual authority to approve purchases up to a certain amount.
Correct.
But this is just talking about changing the credit limit. So like within that credit limit, there could be like $25,000 purchases, all
So
of
it's only
those.
per purchase that thing would
Correct.
apply.
Yeah, so this is just changing the amount total authorized for credit, but within that, any purchase would have to fall within the approval guidelines otherwise signed.
And in general, if something's gonna cost $10,000, I would allow us to use an invoice.
I assume finance goes through the transactions each month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we require
It's not like
receipts,
this is-
proof of purchase and everything.
Yeah.
Any additional questions?
I guess I'm still not clear though what we're changing, because you were saying that we're changing our limit from 50 to 75, but then I'm not really sure why, because you're stating that we're not going over our limit.
So for the 11 cardholders we have now, they each have their own individual limit inside of that $50,000. And because we are adding another cardholder to that list, we want to still, and also just looking at the pattern and history of purchases over time, there are those times when those individual limits are, need to be raised so that those purchases can be made during those times of year when they may have more heavy use on their credit cards. So it's really an internal management so that you don't have to wait because you're maxed out on your individual credit card limit. But still within the district's overall spending limit.
Right, I get that, but I don't understand. I still don't understand what you're saying, because you're saying you have 50,000, you want to add another authorized person, but then you're saying we're not going over this limit, but then it's like an internal limit. So then I don't understand why we need to raise the 50,000 limit.
Right, so, okay, we'll say we have 10 cardholders and we each have a $5,000 limit. Well, Jack doesn't use his 5,000 this month, he's only using 2,000, and Sally's gonna go over by 2,000. For her to be able to do that, someone on our staff has to go into the system and increase her credit limit so her card is not denied. And so it's a workflow process. I think we got caught up in this once last year, trying to order something online, and the individual requesting or purchasing the item was denied because they didn't have enough left in their credit limit. And most of the time, it's not a problem, but as we get towards the end of the year and we're getting towards that spending freeze and not be able to make more purchases, we can't say just buy it next month because we've said you can't buy anything next month. So it's an administrative workflow thing to take less time both for the purchaser who may have a purchase denied because they've maxed out their credit limit, and or having finance intervene and do work on the back end. So it's a workflow thing, and that is an efficiency and saves us the staff time in managing those credit limits. And we're not talking about going crazy here and taking someone who's got $1,000 credit limit and giving them a 10,000, but giving them a little bit more flexibility. You know, most of the time when people are close, it's within $500 to $1,000. So we're not talking excessive amounts, but this gives us that flexibility and for the administrative side.
And using the credit cards is a more efficient way of dealing with a lot of these purchases.
I mean, our preference is to
Right.
go by invoice or check, but that's just not always possible. So, yes, but for some places that is their primary method of payment. Even, registering everybody for the OLA conference. Cards are so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see just one other benefit to point out here is that we are getting closer to the end of the fiscal year, and those invoices sometimes take a long time to process. And it can be a pain, I think, for bookkeeping to go back and post them to the proper year.
Yeah. That's a good point, Kim. Thank you.
I'll call it question.
So,
Okay. So we need a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a
Motion, I
motion?
think.
Okay, okay, I guess a motion.
move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Now a roll call vote, please.
Director Brown?
Yeah.
Director Young?
Yes.
Director Kiefer?
Yes.
Director Shepherd?
No,
I'm sorry?
No.
no.
And Director Keating?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bryn, would you like to join us?
Hello, everybody. All right, so it's that time in the budget season to discuss our COLA, otherwise known as cost of living adjustment. And I went through using the JCLS approved COLA methodology. And the data is pointing to a 3.6% COLA for fiscal year 25. Anybody have any questions?
How does this is, the step increases will come later, or is there? Okay.
Yeah, that's the separate process.
So we don't get the whole budget impact at once, though.
No.
Well, that might be preferable, actually, but. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I wasn't entirely clear about that either, that there's step and COLA. So that would be nice to clarify.
The staff recommendation for step increases is for 2 step increases, which would be a total of 3% step increase.
Thought we discussed that earlier, we were gonna go with one step.
That was for the current fiscal year. So we're talking about the proposed fiscal year 25 budget. We're recommending a 2-step increase. But
It's
keep in
not
mind that
discussion today, though, right?
a cost of living adjustment is not a salary increase. It's a cost of living adjustment to keep up with inflation and CPI.
But it's a salary increase.
It is an increase in the amount of money you are paid, but it is not a salary increase. Those are 2 separate things. So the COLA, when we make a COLA adjustment so our salary schedule will be adjusted by the approved COLA amount. So if you were hired on July 1st of 2024, your salary would be 3.6 high. The basic salary would be adjusted to 3.6%. So yes, it does result in people being paid more, but it's not a salary increase.
Semantics, I mean, yeah.
It's an important difference.
Yeah, it is
What?
inflation, right? So your groceries, everything goes up based on inflation, and this is what keeps us level with that
I
inflation.
understand what.
And with the market.
So the step increases, I think, so maybe repeat Kevin's question, that's not the topic of discussion today.
Correct. But I heard two of you say that having that information would help you with this discussion.
Well, I'm sort of curious as to why we don't get all of this as part of the budget process so that we have more complete information about what the budgetary impact of these wage changes are.
My understanding of the budget process is that the salaries. Have this memorized either, but I believe that salaries can be set by the board, but the budget itself is set by the budget committee. And so in order to put a dollar amount for a COLA into the budget recommendation, we need the approval of the board for that.
But we don't for the step increases? I don't understand why we're doing this, the staff compensation adjustments piecemeal so that you don't. Seems like we're being asked to approve them piecemeal so that we don't get the whole budgetary impact at once. I'm not
understand where you're,
opposed. I just don't understand this process.
I understand where you're coming from, Susan, but I see them a little bit differently. I don't see a COLA or cost of living adjustment having anything to do with the performance of the staff. I see it more as just an economic adjustment.
I don't think. Well, the step increases aren't related to their performance either.
That's true, but I feel like those are a little bit more negotiable based on the market and those things. This is basically just to keep them going and keep them in the same place with their expenses.
Well, that's true, but not every employee. I mean, in this institution, employees all get them, but COLAs are not necessarily standard operating procedure elsewhere. For the most part, they are. They sure think we're. Anyway, okay.
So I guess part of my answer for why we're bringing you the COLA and not the step increases today for discussion is because that's what we did in previous years. And so we're just continuing the same process that we've used before. And I think, if you're looking at the impact on the budget, a COLA recommendation is based on market, it's based on the methodology that we put together and have used for the last several years, which looks at what is happening in our region. And the reason why we're looking at that, both in the region and in libraries, is so that as we have new positions that we're filling, are we still in line with the market, and then every 3 to 5 years, we'll do the full salary survey and look at more individualized positions to make some adjustments when needed. But this is the part of the budget that's not negotiable. If we want to keep running a library, we need to pay staff, compensate staff adequately for the work that they do. And that's at a market level. And so that has come forward from the budget work session in the last several years as one of the top priorities of the board and of the budget committee. And so this is the part of the budget that we need this information as we're putting together the budget. And as we've worked on the budget and we'll be presenting that next month, we had to make an assumption that you all would approve somewhere around the 3.6%, which is how we calculated, and we'll be making a recommendation for the 2-step. It's not longevity, but the two-step increase for every fall staff.
What is considered our district and region? We have a district at 3.88% total comparison. That will be,
So that is another special district where it says district, and then the regional or regional organizations that we often compare with. These folks are in the same place we are, where their boards haven't approved of anything, so it wouldn't be fair to say who they are, just like I would expect them not to say what we're giving, because you all have.
we use the same ones over the past few years.
We do, yeah, we have a vast list that I reach out to. Sometimes we don't hear back, sometimes they're way behind the times and they can't give me an answer. But, these are organizations and library systems that we did with the salary study. We used in the COLA last year, the COLA the year before that.
What was the COLA last year? Year before?
Last year we were 5%, and the year before that, I think we were 3.6%. And as you're aware by the news, inflation's been up, and although it's down some, it's still up.
Yeah, for reference, this is pretty close to in line with what the Social Security Administration just put out too, so.
Yes. That is referenced on here in the comparisons upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, 3.2.
And the reason why we have that kind of joint methodology of looking at libraries and looking at the local market is because we recognize that we're pulling from those two primary audiences when we're looking at our market of where we're getting staff from. So the local governments would be cities, regions, special districts that are in Southern Oregon.
These are all Southern Oregon numbers, though.
Yes. And then the libraries are not all, they're based on comparably sized systems in other states, not just in Oregon, because there's not a whole lot in Oregon.
And then does the COLA apply to staff or everybody, like staff and admin?
To everybody who is employed by the district, yes.
Any additional questions for Bren or Terry? Okay. All right, I'll move approval. Yeah, anybody like to second? Susan has made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
So all in favor, if you could raise your hand or speak up, then I'll ask for opposed if there are any.
Sorry, can you just say?
Okay.
It's difficult to, sorry, take minutes and look
Yes,
around.
yes, it's from
especially with
everybody
virtual.
except Marissa. I have not seen her or heard a reply yet.
So you can say anything.
Okay, that's
If you are opposed, please verbalize opposition.
Oppose.
Thank you.
Great.
In general,
Error.
we're using the recordings, and so sometimes just having that, so all in favor, say aye, you
Right.
can hear it.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, auditor contract. Heather, if you would like to join us, please.
I told Heather we'd tag team this one, so we came in at the very tail end of the audit selection process, but we did review the two proposals that were submitted and are recommending continuing the contract with KDP, or not continuing, entering into a new agreement and letter of engagement with KDP to perform the audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Are there any questions?
Questions? I guess the amount looks sort of similar to last year. I'm not remembering exact numbers, but it doesn't look like it increased dramatically.
Yeah, it was broken up a little bit last year because they did some additional services, so the audit cost is actually really close to what it was last year.
Is this a typical cost for audits of an organization this size?
So right now, there is a shortage on fiscal auditors and barely get firms to even bid on the work. And so they're very happy to charge what they want. KDP's estimate actually showed quite a discount that they were providing because they were continuing auditor for us. And so they would be providing some extra hours that they're not charging for, where the other firm that we looked at kind of, I would say their hour estimate was very, very low. And I don't think they could have completed the work for how many hours they suggested.
And then we get it back into the same situation we've had for, in the first 2-year audits that we had, so, you know, went significantly out of scope. And, I think on both sides, both with KDP and with us, we have more confidence that we're in a good, clean place where they understand our finances and know our system, and that what they bid is the hours that they think it will take. 2 years ago, I think part of the out of scope work came because we determined that the foundation was a component unit, and that had not been a part of the original scope of work for them.
And it does seem like the shortage of auditors has been a multi-year concern.
I had multiple CPAs suggest that I go into that line of work before I took this job.
Yeah.
So bad, so that's why I know.
So
I'll move approval.
that he'd like to second approval of the auditor contract. I don't mind seconding, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but, oh yeah. Okay, if you could please verbalize your vote. We have a motion to approve the auditor contract with KDP as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I,
Marissa,
And I see a thumbs
Oh,
up.
aye.
So.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bryn is back. The HR.
We just want to get the extras.
Thank you.
Make our eye.
Yes, contract.
Yes, so in February, we got some hard news from People Strategy that they were acquired by Assure Software. So certainly not what we planned on doing this year. But after a provided demo, it was determined that the Assure system just wouldn't provide us with what we needed. So we did review and received numerous quotes. And I'd like to recommend that the board approve entering into a contract with Paylocity as the library's HR information system.
I would like to update the numbers that are in your proposal in the packet. Because we were working with them on the final quote numbers, making sure we had all the pieces we wanted and everything in that packet. So the total annual investment is $44,152.76. I'm glad they're very precise on those pennies. And the one-time implementation fees are down slightly to $9,164. So I just wanted you to know that those have been adjusted slightly, and that does include carrying over. We went live with People Strategy as our payroll system on January 1st, 2023. And they're typically, as part of a migration, they pull over 1 year's worth. So they would pull over the current year of 2024. We asked them to include 2023 so that staff don't have to go 2 different places to find their pay stubs from 2023 or any of that information. So that is included in the implementation cost and the migration of this information.
Is this comparable to what we're paying currently?
it is higher than what we are currently paying, but it includes more modules and more services. For example, right now, we are using a separate calendaring system for staff schedules, and we would be able to pull that into this system and cancel that subscription for that. I have, and I have the numbers, I just don't have it on the top of my head, for what that savings is. It also has a more streamlined can't say the word, applicant tracking system, which is all of the hiring of staff that will increase efficiencies there. And then also with the learning management system, which is how we track any of the online training that staff take or any conferences they go to. We have a system that tracks all of that training. Also the mandatory training that is required for mandatory reporting, bloodborne pathogens, the really fun stuff. That is all automated and included in the system. So there's several staff members for whom their workflows will be streamlined. So that is one of the factors that we weighed when we looked at the cost increases, but I think overall it's a good direction to go.
Maybe check references of other people you've been using it around.
We have check references with both of the finalists. Correct. And gotten good feedback. There's too many orange companies these days. So Paylocity, we did ask them their average length of someone who has stayed with their company as a payroll system, and I believe it was 8 years on average. And since we're on our fourth system since I started 5 years ago, that sounds good to me. And they do have experience migrating other clients from People Strategy into the Paylocity system.
And if they've had customers for at least 8 years, they've been in business for at least 8 years, it sounds like.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And we do, we have been in contact with People Strategy and Assure, who is their parent company now, and let them know that that their system may not meet our needs and that we would be exercising our termination by mutual agreement clause, and they are aware. So we do have that, but I wanted to have official approval before I notified them of that cancellation.
How long is it?
It is a month contract with them, so we're not locked in.
I think we're gonna try to do a year, but it's negotiated month to month, so it's, we wanna know what we're paying for the full year.
Right, that's what I was wondering, can they change the price?
We did ask them how often they increase their rates, and they historically have increased every 3 to 5 years by 1.5% to 3%.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, we learned to ask a few more questions this time around, based on our experience last time around, and it happens. Companies get acquired all the time. We're not saying that we're faulting People Strategy for getting bought out, but we weren't planning on going through this process a year and a half later. And I really appreciate all the work that both our finance and HR teams did in reviewing multiple systems and keeping careful notes, because by the time you watch the fifth one, you're like, wait, are they the ones who, or so, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, if I could have a motion to approve the, I guess, is it a contract? It's an agreement with HRIS for.
So I'll approve or move that we enter into an engagement with KDP for auditing services.
We're
You're behind.
actually.
HRIS.
Paylocity for HRIS.
Move to, I'm gonna get this right.
Attention.
Yeah, no, I'm saying this. I move that we approve, can I get this right? I'm actually looking for the name of the company.
Paylocity.
Paylocity.
It's HRIS.
Under recommendation, HRIS.
Entering into a contract with Paylocity as the library's HR info system.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, if you could please verbalize a yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. Okay, board member recruitment. Thank you, Bryn. Carrie name.
It's gonna be. My name is-
Because your name's there.
So, I sent you all a note, and I think, we're all aware that Kim Young is stepping down from our board and wishing her the very best in her move to Spokane, Washington. So thank you so much for your service, Kim. I just want to preface all of this by saying that I've enjoyed having you on our board, and I think the rest of you all have too. But we do have there's 1 year left in Kim's. And so we went through a recruitment process last January when we had a position that was vacated before the term ended. And so I would recommend we follow that same process. We do have a board recruitment kind of packet that we can post on our website that overviews what does it mean to be a library board member in a special district in the state of Oregon. Why would you want to join our board? Some information about the library district and about special districts in general. What's the general time commitment, those types of things. And then we do have an application form passed down here for you all to review. And so the process that we used, that's right there on the it looks like this. It'll send you a copy, Marissa, and Kim. But the process that we followed and that I would propose we follow again is that we formed a selection committee of 2 board members and myself to review the applications that come in, and that then that subcommittee or that committee makes a recommendation to the board for appointment of someone to that vacated seat. So my recommendation would be, actually, excuse me, let me stop there and see if that process sounds good. If there were things that didn't work last time that you would like to talk about before I move forward with kind of a timeline that I think we could use to get that position filled in June.
Yeah, since Marissa and Kim, you don't have this one document in front of you, but it does have questions. I think Marissa would probably be distantly familiar since she went through the process of answering the questions, but any concerns or questions?
Thoughts on the process?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, so, my recommendation is that there are some things in the recruitment packet that just, it has Eric's name on it because he was the board chair at the time. So we'll change that to Vicky, some minor things like that to update the content of the recruitment packet, and then also where the applications get returned to. So we'll clean that up and recommend that we would post an announcement by Wednesday, April 17th. And then have applications due by May 10th. The board meets on May 20th and the budget committee meets on April 15th, no. May 15th, the budget committee meets. And so would, recommend that anybody who is interested would be welcome to attend either of those meetings and get a firsthand understanding of the commitments and the involvement. That the selection committee would interview any applicants who applied the week of May 20th. Same committee meet the week of June 3rd to discuss the candidates and come to a consensus for a recommendation that would be brought to the board for approval at the June 17th board meeting. So that would be bringing forward a name for someone to be approved, to be appointed, who would then start their term in July of 2024. So gives folks almost 3 weeks to consider and apply for the position, a week for interviews, and then some time for review. prior to the June 17th board meeting. It also has, we have some time in there too, that if we are not getting any applicants or not a sufficient number that we feel gives us a good selection to choose from, we have some time in there.
So it's gonna post the 17th of April, is what they're saying.
Post the 17th of April, 2 days from now. File your taxes, apply to be on the library board.
I have one just process question. So for any of us that are referring people potentially to apply, the website is the place to go.
It will.
It's easy to apply.
And it will be
won't tell
prominently
anybody
posted
today.
on our website.
Correct. Yes, and last time what we did was we put it on the slider. So when you go onto the homepage and there's the images that rotate, we posted it there, posted on the district page. I feel like I don't know, Marissa and Kevin, let me know, but I feel like we tried to do a pretty good job of getting it prominently displayed on our web page.
Think so.
Yeah, I think it is displayed.
Are we gonna put this in the papers too? We're gonna advertise this? How are we going to get word out if somebody doesn't go look at our website?
I'm open to suggestions.
Well, we have a Facebook page, obviously, right?
Well,
And
we'll have a recruitment committee and we'll make suggestions.
maybe it should be advertised. I mean, do we do that? Have we done with that? In the Times?
I think they hadn't quite started yet.
Right. Yeah, I think we should have an advertiser in the Times.
Since
Brian, that's something we can do, right? Just put an ad in the Times?
Yeah, I mean, we've done it for other things.
can we do it for the Courier too, since there's a lot of Jackson County people that read the Courier instead of the RV Times?
Yeah, so we can certainly put that on the list of ways we get the word out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should go for maximum exposure here.
Okay.
Any other questions about the process, the timeline of the process? One piece coming from me relative to the process is appointing a selection committee composed of Kevin Keating and Susan Keeper to serve as that interview committee, selection committee, who will be making a recommendation back to the board. And they have both agreed to serve on the committee.
I wonder if Kim would like to, there's.
She can. We can only have 2.
Yeah, I'm available to help, but I mean, you guys are gonna be working with the person.
What's the matter? You don't want me to serve with you? Try to get me off your committee?
The end of that process, a lot happening, and I certainly, for all of us, board members, staff, anybody, certainly spread the word if you're aware of somebody personally that might have an interest in serving on the board. I think word of mouth is valuable for sure.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that, I guess to close that out, we'll also be reaching out to the Friends organizations as well, since they do have a pretty large network, so that will happen. Okay, so on to committee and board member reports, the finance committee. Is that Kim? And then
Kim and Marissa.
Kim and Marissa.
Yeah, we largely talked about the auditor selection. There was some discussion of just some things, just some housekeeping preparing for the budget session. But it was largely that auditor selection. Marissa, do you have anything to add?
No, just looking forward to the budget forecast that will be coming up with the budget process.
Okay, thank you. The relationship committee met on, I've got lots of notes. On April 3rd. And did formulate and are recommending and both an extension to the current MOU and amending the terms of the MOU because we do not have that document completed and available yet. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail relative to that, but there was agreement on moving forward with that. And the committee is meeting again on May 1st. So, does anybody have any specific questions? Okay. And I guess I get to do the next one too. The Directors Evaluation Committee, or at least I will do the next one.
That's fine.
There has definitely been activity, and I guess I'll preface this by saying I'm just going to go through kind of what the process has been to this point. We're not making decisions about what the process is going to look like. I'm more just updating on where we are moving forward with this. So this is not going to include anything specific about Carrie or her evaluation other than the process. So I met with Maura Dede, who is the contractor through local librarian LLC. I met with her on March 15 to partly just to get acquainted so we could kind of see who each other was and then try and formulate a strategy for what information she needed from us and trying to get that organized and to her so she could get working. And actually, prior to this meeting today, Susan and I being the Directors Evaluation Committee, met with Maura and reviewed the documents that she has available at this point for our input and suggestions. And that was a productive meeting. And so she will be moving forward on gathering more information. And I mean, I would have to say, just from my perspective, certainly she's responsive. She's doing a great job. I think we feel comfortable with the work she has presented to us at this point. So that all feels positive. I think all of the board members and the staff who report directly to Carrie have been contacted to set up a meeting date when Maura will go through the kind of the mechanics of each of us completing the online evaluation that we will be receiving. And that is scheduled for May 13th from 3 to 4. Because it will include all of the board members. It will be a work session. And it primarily will be a virtual meeting, although there will be a physical location available if people prefer to be present for a meeting. Maura will primarily be serving as the person who will be providing the information and presentation and answering questions for us at that time. And I don't know if I need to get too far ahead. Anyway, the process, we have a good timeline for the process. I think everything will be completed and ready to be presented to the board at the June meeting. So I think we are on track and feel like we have a good contractor working with us. Susan, you have anything to add to that?
I don't, although I don't know if anybody else listened to the United for Libraries thing on evaluating your director, which was last week, but I did that and it was quite worthwhile. And I believe we can provide access to the recording of that at some point. And I would very much recommend that people find it was just an hour and it's worth doing. So I'd recommend it.
And it was more about, more Dee who did
Yes,
that.
and yes, that. Thank you. This is our contractor that did this program, so you get an idea of how she works.
And future meetings, tomorrow evening between 5:30 and 7 at the Medford Library, Ashland Library, Central Point Library, Eagle Point Library, Rogue River Library, there will be, the Medford Library will be having a physical meeting in the building. The other 4 sites will be having live streaming at those locations. I believe, we weren't absolutely sure which board member was attending where. I will be at the live streaming site in Eagle Point. Are you going to be?
I'm probably here.
Susan is.
I told
Going somewhere.
Terry she could assign me wherever she wanted me to go.
Kim,
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna
go to
be
Central Point.
Central Point? And Marissa, were you able to get to any of the locations?
I was hoping I could attend virtually. I don't know if that was an option.
That is not, it will be recorded, but we were hoping to have, kind of spread out wherever we could and just have someone there, so, but that's.
I can go
we'll-
somewhere else too, bro. You need someone somewhere remote.
So we, Ashland, Road.
We don't have to decide right now, but
Okay,
Okay. Okay. Still from.
we have
It is-
4 hours to decide.
But is someone gonna be in Medford?
well, there will be
So I mean, I
staff.
will.
Yeah.
I mean,
Be lots of people in there.
Yeah.
And my understanding is there will be some, in addition to the branch manager, there'll be
Yes.
at least another library staff person.
Correct, yeah, so
At
we're
each
just,
site, so.
really, it's more just an opportunity for you all to get out, see the community, hear directly from them what their hopes and dreams are for the future of our library buildings. So just more community engagement opportunity for you all as board members, but no hard responsibilities, if you will, at the meeting.
I'll go to Ashland.
Great. Thanks,
I'll go
Kevin.
to Road River.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. April 24th to 27th, the OLA conference in Salem. And I'm not sure who's attending, somebody.
I'm going,
You're going.
Val, did you send out I think you did, like what breakout sessions were scheduled for?
It's online.
Oh,
Oh, I can look at it.
You're,
Yeah.
I'll speak with you later.
That's great, okay.
and the sessions look great, so people that are able to be there, enjoy them. The budget committee meeting will be May 15th at 4 PM in the large meeting room here, is that right? Okay. And that will be available virtually?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a requirement.
Okay. And our next board meeting is May 19th. And we will be back here and obviously will be available virtually, so.
Do you want to put that May 13th thing on?
Yep, I didn't have that when we printed the agenda, so, but yes,
Okay.
May 13th with Maura will be the work session for the executive director's evaluation process.
Okay.
It's at 3 PM.
Yeah, and you should have gotten confirmation from her when you applied, I believe.
Not everybody was on it, that's why I asked her today.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And so we will actually create the link for that one since it's
Right.
a public meeting and we'll have to
Right,
record it and all
right.
those
Yes,
things, so.
definitely.
There will be an invite and I'll make sure that
Right.
the room will be reserved, everything.
The confirmation of the date and the time, I think, should have been on front when if you replied initially, but. Okay, any last minute information that I have missed that you'd like to share? Thank you all for hanging in there with us, staff.
All right.
Meeting is adjourned.